With 10 years of hunting for treasures at Blind Frog Ranch caves amounting to nothing, Duane has come up with a game plan to ensure that he finally gets the treasure. Will this work? And can they find the life-changing amount of gold that will restructure history books, taking the place of the biggest treasure found in history? Let's see what's going on. The producer picks him up in Yucatan, Mexico, as they try to track down a world-renowned expert in ancient civilizations. Duane's master plan needs this expert as he has stayed in places with tunnel systems like those on Blind Frog Ranch, and he might know a thing or two about what to look for. Meanwhile, Chad and Charlie drove up to the ranch a few days earlier to prepare for the tasks ahead. The Blind Frog Ranch is a few miles from the infamous Skinwalker Ranch, which is also rumored to have supernatural sightings. However, Chad is surprised to see several federal mining claims and tracks all over the ranch, meaning that someone has been in the area without Duane's permission. The ranch has had several claim jumpers over the years as people want to be the first to claim the treasure on the ranch. Chad and Charlie investigate for a while and find a tent-like structure and red tape all around the area. The two investigate and find a lateral hole. Using a camera, they deduce that the jumpers are headed toward the direction where Duane intended to start digging next. Chad and Charlie continue investigating, and they find an RV with several snowmobiles and generators around. Nobody is home, but Charlie knows they will come back. However, the claim jumpers have parked the RV just outside Blind Frog Ranch's property line. They have set up cameras all over the property so they can see what Duane and his team do as they are at a vantage point. Another frustrating thing is that the jumpers have parked on BLM land, so Charlie and Chad cannot ask them to leave. Duane finally arrives at his destination, Bayam, and meets with James Keenan, an American civilizations expert. James researches the lost civilizations like the Aztecs, and he believes that they share similar characteristics with Blind Frog Ranch. Bayam is located in the middle of nowhere, but it has interconnected tunnels underneath that go to various parts of Yucatan. James believes that the same tunnels exist under Blind Frog Ranch. Such tunnels were used to protect people and also store gold and valuable treasures. The treasure on Blind Frog Ranch is approximated to be worth $3 billion. James agrees to work with Duane and promises to join him at the ranch in a few days. Duane reunites with his son and Charlie. The two quickly tell him about the trespassers with forged mining claims. Duane knows that these trespassers are after the treasure he has spent a decade looking for. Duane then tells the two his plan. He has talked to a team with Quantum to help scan the area and see if they can find a more viable entrance to the cavern below the property. The duo had found an entrance one day, but it was flooded. Diving in allowed them to see a man-made structure that, after carbon dating, turned out to be 500 years old. Now they hope to find a better entrance into the cave. The Quantum team, led by Stephen, arrives at the ranch. Stephen explains how the imaging works by circling a drone all over the property. The team assembles in a field prepared to see what the drone cameras will find. As the investigation is ongoing, a truck is seen approaching the group. Charlie deduces that it is the claim jumpers and walks toward the approaching car. The claim jumpers see the two approaching and quickly drive away. Chad has had enough of the poachers, so he asks his father and Charlie to follow the claim jumpers. They get in two cars, and Chad drives to the RV. The claim jumpers are not there, but are at the hole they had dug illegally. Chad, Charlie, and Duane quickly reach the so-called mining spot and confront the trespassers. They are putting red tape all over the area, insisting they receive their orders from the federal mining company. An argument ensues between the two groups, with Chad insisting that the trespassers leave, or else he will have to call the sheriff. The trespassers say that they don't answer questions as they are on federal mining rights, so Chad asks them to call their boss so he can verify what is happening and why they are trespassing. The claim jumpers get into their vehicle and drive a few yards out of the property line. However, they must find a way to leave through that route as the only exit is through the ranch. Chad calls the sheriff's office and explains what is happening since they fear the guys have weapons. Two deputies show up and they speak to the claim jumpers. Unfortunately, Chad and Duane can do nothing for now but file a police report. The deputies drive the trespassers out of the ranch so Duane and Chad won't have to deal with them in the near future. 2 days later, the Quantum guys are ready to present their findings to Duane. They have scanned the entire ranch and have found something that is both mysterious and intriguing. They show him an image with red and blue hues, calling it a Doppler shift. A Doppler shift happens when a massive amount of concentrated energy is present. like in the eye of a hurricane. The red shift represents energy that is expanding, while the blue shift represents energy that is contracting. The line between the two shifts is like a pump pulling energy from one side and sending it to the other side. Anthony mentions this is unique as nowhere else on the ranch has this energy. He mentions that he has only seen such a thing in places with black holes. Anthony is horrified since this is only possible in astrophysics and cosmology, so that shift does not belong on the ranch. The shift is located in a place called the energy zone. This place has been the epicenter of many strange things that Duane and his team have experienced. For example, equipment has been known to fail, drones crash, and batteries die so fast. It is also around this area where Duane found the flooded entrance. However, Chad's camera malfunctioned when he was underwater, so he had to be pulled back and the mission was abandoned. However, this is not the only strange thing the quantum team has discovered. Directly under the energy zone, there appears to be a giant keyhole connected to a tunnel. Anthony explains that he is unsure that the image is a tunnel, but based on the pictures, it could be so. Anthony and his team are excited to have witnessed such a thing at close quarters rather than just reading about it. The quantum team leaves, terrified of finding a Doppler shift where it shouldn't be. The ranch team discusses a few things, saying that this experiment confirms everything they have been looking for from the very beginning. It is a piece of the puzzle fulfilled, and it is so interesting to see that their efforts have not been in vain. James shows up and has seen the pictures taken on the ranch. He's pretty excited to see the area for himself and confirm his theory of Aztecs using the caves to hide treasure and protect their families in case of an invasion. However, the news he is about to share with the group sends shivers down their spines as they wonder what they have stumbled upon. James has been studying the map pictures and the images sent over by Duane. He knows that several caves are scattered all over the Uinta Basin and suspects they are linked by one central cave. Now James has seen a natural formation that looks like an individual's head. He believes the profile he identified could be the native god of protection, Tawat. Tawat is mentioned in rare manuscripts and local lore, but has never been authenticated. James explains to the team that Tawat is supposed to be a deity for the native people of the Uinta Basin. They believe that Tawat is their creator or a spirit guarding something. Now, the team sits down to discuss what they have learned so far. Some claim jumpers have been digging holes all over the property through the winter season. This means that people know about the lost treasure on the ranch and are trying to do their best to be the ones to claim it. The quantum team did a thorough imaging of the ranch, looking at the high point and scanning the lower fields to check for the presence of underground tunnels. The plan worked better than they expected, since they not only found evidence of a cave, but also a Doppler shift. The exact location of the Doppler shift is the energy zone, where strange things have been happening. Now James has shown up and shared his own findings. The energy zone cuts through the center of the head of Tawat. Tawat is seen as a protective spirit, so Duane wonders what he is protecting. James has always known about Tawat's existence, but never thought he would find him on Blind Frog Ranch. If this is true, then the group could have stumbled upon a piece of lost history that could reshape Uinta Basin and its folklore. If you're enjoying the video so far, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. All this blows James's mind, and he believes that the keyhole Doppler shift protected by the head of Tawat could be protecting not only the Aztecs' gold, but also centuries worth of treasure.
Season of The Mystery of the Blind Frog Ranch, Duane Ollinger and his team of explorers set out once again to explore his ranch, and they come across a mysterious carcass, strange petroglyphs, and weird readings from the ground. Duane believes what lies beneath his property is a vast fortune of gold. However, as he treasure hunts, he and his team encounter strange phenomena. Is Duane close to finding the treasure on his ranch? What do these mysterious discoveries mean? Join us as we explore the 6th episode of the 3rd season of The Mystery at the Blind Frog Ranch. Energy Zone. Now that the floodwaters have receded in the energy zone, the team is preparing to resume drilling into the cavern system. Chad, James, and Ryan are on their way to Mosby to sink a giant hole in the entrance of the Utah mountain that channels snowmelt to the Blind Frog Ranch. The recent flooding on the ranch was fed underground by water from the sink. Getting there, they found out that the water flow had gone down, and they could start drilling the energy zone. With the floodwater receding, the team can finally turn their sight back to drilling in the keyhole formation below the vent shaft James discovered with his magnetometer. Duane plans to drill a shaft 150 feet deep into the keyhole chamber, then widen the shaft so a person can be lowered from above with a rat hole rig. The plan is that once they hit the chamber with the rat hole rig, they can tap into the roof of the chamber, drop some cameras in there, and if it's a big void and they were at the top of the cave, they would build a basket to let someone in there with oxygen masks. This was their biggest dig ever. Bringing the drill to the ranch would take almost a day, and they also had to prepare the site for the drilling. Oscar was brought in to drill the energy zone with the rat hole rig. Duane explained the ranch road to him, and they planned to get the rig to the energy zone. The 35-ton drill must slowly travel 2 miles to reach the site. It is a long, stressful route over rough and uneven trails, crossing a steep ravine that still has water from the flooding. The most difficult maneuver will be navigating a 750-foot climb over the backside of the energy zone. The 35-ton rat hole rig needs a hydraulic motor and brake to move it around while being enormously powerful. The temperature of the hydraulics needs to be carefully maintained, or the brakes can fail, sending 35 tons hurling uncontrollably down the hill. The ranch's brutal terrain is causing the rat hole rig's hydraulics to overheat. Oscar said the hydraulic overheated because it wasn't supposed to drive for more than 200 feet. But the rig had driven for more than 2 miles. The quick application of water has cooled the drill enough to finish its journey to the energy zone. Now that the drill has reached the energy zone, the next step is to create a nice and stable drilling platform for the rig before it can start drilling. James ran another 3D ground image survey to find the exact spot of the keyhole formation. Charlie sensed the change in the weather, so he notified the team. James used his lightning detector, which can detect electromagnetic pulses emitted by a lightning strike by measuring the strength of the pulse. The device can also estimate the distance of the strike. Chad heard the lightning and then told Duane to stop drilling the energy zone so they could escape the lightning rod. Chad then informed Oscar that they would resume the next day. Land poachers. Duane Ollinger, the ranch owner, has been noticing some trespassing on his property and illegal digging for treasure under the cover of darkness. The increasing number of dig sites they found recently has led Duane to call the authorities for help. He believes that the only way to get them off the land is through federal agencies, or they can do it the old-fashioned way. Determined to stop the poachers digging on the ranch, the team conducted a stakeout, waiting until nightfall to intercept them. Chad launched infrared drones to find the exact location of the trespassers on the property. Duane and Charlie chased them in a car after locating the location. The poachers then took notice of the drone and started looking for an escape route. Charlie then intercepted them right at the corner of the creek. After obtaining footage of poachers illegally trespassing, Duane visited Salt Lake City for a court appearance. Although cameras were not allowed in the building, the court determined that the poachers had been digging on Duane's land illegally and were found guilty of using a false mining claim. They must vacate the area immediately. The impending sentencing hearing could lead to jail time. Now that the poachers are barred from the ranch, Charlie has to work on closing the dig sites and removing what was left behind. The 7 stone monuments, including the biggest one marking the cave following the wagon trail up to Crow Creek, are believed to be key landmarks guarding a cave that will reveal the location of the fabled Lost Roads mine. They have located a series of caves close to the 7 Sisters, and one of these caves is supposed to have an eye-like carving. The dead carcass. On the other side of the ranch, Charlie discovered a dead deer, but to his surprise, the deer's death wasn't normal. The deer had suffered from suffocation, but to Charlie's surprise, the neck of the carcass seemed to have been broken. He then continued to examine the dead deer. Its stomach was still soft, which he found weird. The deerskin had also turned blue, and he was sure he had never seen anything like that. Charlie found a fang in the dead deer's neck. He believes the fang doesn't belong to a bear or a mountain lion because there are no bite marks, claw marks, tracks, or bullet holes on the dead animal. He then found a drag mark, which caught his attention immediately. He believes something might have drugged him right off the road, but there were no footprints whatsoever. He thinks it's a risk to have an unknown predator on the property. He then took the fang back to his team. The team suggested that the fang may belong to a large snake. Although there are over 31 known species of snakes in Utah, none are known to exceed 6 feet in length. While the native king snake is one of the strongest constrictors on the planet, its size prevents it from being capable of killing prey as large as deer. The team then sits and discusses the issue of the dead deer. Chad thinks it might be the snake that Charlie took a picture of by the pond a few days before. While patrolling the property, Charlie photographed some animals in the Beaver Creek pond. He described its serpent with a scale like an alligator would on its back, but he didn't see it all. He only saw 12 to 13 feet of its body. The other half was diving straight down into the pond. Charlie then told the team he had also found a wild drag mark at the ranch where he found the deer. He suggested they stay out of that part of the ranch for safety. The suggestion to bring in a specialist from Stanford came from Duane to solve the mystery surrounding the deer's death. Duane has asked Emery Smith, a biomedical investigator and a former scientist in the U.S. Air Force, to examine the deer carcass that Charlie discovered. Upon examination, Emery discovered that the deer had had multiple spinal fractures and that its skin had turned green. He further explained that the skin turned green because of plasma. Somehow the blood on the deer had separated. Emery also found out something was accelerating the decomposition of the deer, making it rot a lot faster. He further explained that the bite was just a leverage. The animal had wrapped itself around the deer's neck, obviously suffocating it, and had most likely died from the pressure of its circulatory system. Charlie then showed Emery the drag mark on the hill and led him to the pond where he first saw the animal. Emery Smith then took a sample from the pond to test for DNA. He suggested they do a microbiology, which means they will see what kind of microbes are in the pond, how many living creatures are in there, and who's feeding off of who. He then took the sample to the lab for examination. Emery then further examined the water sample he took from the pond as DNA and had to measure the frequency of all the life forms in it. He found different bacteria and parasites in it. He promised to examine the sample further to determine which animal the DNA belongs to. The petroglyphs. On their way back from Mosby Sink, James brought Chad and Ryan for a little surprise. On getting there, Chad and Ryan were excited to see the ancient petroglyphs near Blind Frog, estimated to be 1,000 years old. These rock drawings were made by the enigmatic Fremont culture, which lived here as early as 950 AD. There were some anthropomorphic figures and Dassam drawings. Also, some squiggly lines on the rock look like a snake drawing. The petroglyphs depict animals common there at the time, including antelope and deer, but they also depict mysterious figures whose meanings could not be clearer, including a giant serpent. Some believe such a snake may have been common then, only to have disappeared in the years since these petroglyphs were created. James found the drawings on the rock very interesting. He also noticed the weird portal in the drawing that led to the mountain and the lines underneath the anthropomorphic figure, which Ryan translated to water according to the old maps. Chad thinks the petroglyphs have some sort of connection with their ranch. Recaps of the previous episodes. Duane Ollinger assembles a new team to help him breach the cavern system and find the treasure, but they discover trespassers illegally digging on their property. The team then learns startling new information about the ranch, which reveals what might be an underground chamber and a landmark of an ancient indigenous god known as Toad. In his quest to map the cavern system, Duane recruits physicist Stephen Leah and his team to scan the ranch using a new quantum imaging technology. The scans revealed a mysterious anomaly near the energy zone and an unusual keyhole-shaped chamber beneath it. James discovers a possible vent shaft directly over top of it, and to gain access, the team blasts 15 feet of hard-packed dirt covering the vent, but the blast seems to have triggered a flood. When the underground tsunami floods the cavern system, Duane and his team attempt to breach it from higher ground, discovering evidence of Aztec artifacts and a crucial clue to the Lost Roads mines. While digging a potential opening to the cavern system near the bead side, Chad discovered 2 gold nuggets hidden in a small cave. Following the Lost Roads mine trails, Che and Ryan attempt to descend a 250-foot cliff in a dangerous maneuver to access a Mormon eye cave. While trekking at a high altitude, James suffered a health scare. Back at the ranch, when Duane uncovers a new trespasser site, he decides to take matters into his own hands. The strange readings from the ground, the mysterious dead carcass, and the petroglyphs are all undeniable indications that something mysterious has happened and is still in play on the Blind Frog Ranch, and Duane and his team do not plan on relenting until they unravel the secrets of the ranch. Thanks for watching. Let's hear your opinions in the comments section below about what you expect in this season of mystery at Blind Frog Ranch. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more. See you there.